TradingView's AI is actually insane. It saves me hours every day so I can actually focus on trading as opposed to all the time-consuming work. So today I'm going to show you step by step how to use TradingView's AI to make you a better trader. I'm also going to be going over 4 custom prompts that I built, and they will all be available for free in the description below. The first step to connecting the AI to your TradingView account is by going on Google and typing in TradingView Copilot. Next, you're going to click on the TradingView AI Chart Copilot public beta is available now. This will be the link that you click on. Once you get to this page, simply scroll down till you get to the Getting Started with Chart AI. It takes about 30 seconds. You'll see number 1 says Install TradingView Chart Copilot. You simply press on that button and it will bring you to a Google Chrome extension, which is where this TradingView AI lives. As you can see, I already have the Google Chrome extension enabled. So all you have to do is add it and you'll see it pop up on the top right under your extensions. The important thing to mention is because this is a Google Chrome extension, it won't work on the TradingView desktop version. Now with the desktop version, I have seen loads of videos where people are actually connecting Claude to TradingView, and I tried to do this myself, but it just took way longer than I expected, and I just didn't have the patience with the constant errors. So when I stumbled across this TradingView AI that was simply a Chrome extension and took like 20 seconds, I was much more enthusiastic in testing it, and I was actually really surprised by the performance of it relative to different LLMs. The next step is to load up TradingView on your browser. Then you head over to the top right under Extensions, and I will click on TradingView Remix. Then you simply sign in with your TradingView account, and you will have access to the tool. You can actually start using TradingView's AI with a simple free plan. The only difference is if you have a free TradingView plan, you will not be able to code any indicators or use PineScript. And then the higher tier subscription you have for TradingView, the more credits you will have available. As you can see, if you have the Plus, it is 2 times, the Premium is 5 times, while the Ultimate is nearly 20 times as much. And at the end of every single week, your usage limit will reset, so you can start fresh again. Once everything is set up, you can head over to the top right where you will see prompt templates. Now, when I clicked on this, I actually tested each of these prompts myself, but what I noticed is, these were relatively basic and you can actually see the whole prompt. For most of these, it's nothing spectacular, and I'm pretty sure they were just set up as inspiration for you to then create your own prompts, which is exactly what I ended up doing. So let me share with you the first prompt that I created, which is my technical analysis prompt. So the way that I built this prompt was in various levels. The first one was for it to identify whether price is in a range-bound environment or a trending environment, because by understanding the actual market context, you can better understand which type of trades you want to take where you're flowing with the trend as opposed to going against it. The next step was marking out your key levels. Now, of course, you could simply tell the AI to mark out all of the key levels on the chart, but as a trader, I'm only focused on the closest levels to where price is currently trading. So I broke it down into 2 segments. I had the AI mark out the daily high time frame levels and then the 4-hour levels so that I could then hinge my trades off of both of them. And the result is actually pretty accurate. The current market regime, just based off my own experience, is identifying that this is clearly a range-bound environment. And that's what the prompt tells me. It says the market regime on the daily chart is range-bound. It also mentions the key swing highs and lows on the daily. So the daily swing high was at 67.3K, while the daily swing low was around 57.8. And it also gives me a more or less brief reasoning behind why it chose that level, but that's something we'll get into deeper in the next prompt. Then it's also marked out the 4-hour resistance and support levels, which you'll see for the 4-hour resistance is around 66.9 and the 4-hour support around 62.2. So when just looking at this chart, I'm like, okay, well, the range high to me is very accurate. The range low is also very accurate. And if we can see that the 4-hour resistance is pretty confluent with the daily swing high, so, maybe there is a high conviction setup to be taken around those levels. Now that the prompt has broken down the key levels on the chart, how does this actually help you become a better trader? And this is where our prompt number 2 comes in, which I call the Trading Mentor prompt. So let's have a look at it. Act as my trading mentor and explain in simple terms the following bullet points so that I can understand the logic behind your conclusion. Number 1, what did you use to define the daily regime and how does it work? Number 2, what was the logic behind each of the levels you marked on the chart, both for the 4-hour and daily? And lastly, explain how I can practice marking them out myself and provide me with exercises. So all I do now is paste this prompt into the TradingView AI and see what the result is. Now let's see what the prompt concluded. Number 1 was, how did I define the daily regime, right? Are we trending or ranging? So the first cue that it used was the swing structure. It took the sequence of higher highs and higher lows in an uptrend and then lower highs and lower lows in a downtrend. And when you're in a range-bound environment, there is actually a lack of those clear market structure distinction. And from the actual swing data, it's telling me that the signature of a downtrend that has been flattened into a box. So we were in a downtrend and now price is more in a box-like environment, which is what we call our range-bound environment. Next, what it used was the ATR test. So the daily ATR is at 1,400, so around 2.2% of price. And when you're taking the swing low of 57.8 to the swing high, you only have a 6.6 ATRs wide. And what it's explaining is, in a genuine trend, you would have a much wider and more one-directional ATR footprint. And that's how it concludes the range-bound verdict. Moving on to the logic behind finding each of the key levels. When marking out the daily swing high and low, what it used was a bar metric. And what I mean by this is a bar whose high is higher than n number of bars on either side. So if we have, for example, this key swing high on the chart, what it would look at is the number of bars on the left and the number of bars on the right. And the larger the number on each side before the high is actually taken out, and that is how it concludes marking out your daily swing high, and it's the same concept for the daily swing lows. And then when it comes to the 4-hour levels, it simply goes based off of the number of touches and how those levels have been respected. One of the cool features that I noticed is when you're actually reading through this, whenever you click on any of the actual numbers, you'll see them highlighted on the actual TradingView chart. This helps with kind of a more visual representation when you're learning. And honestly, this was one of the biggest takeaways that I found with using TradingView's built-in AI, is that when framing it from a solely educational purpose, when it's trying to help you understand the logic behind its actions, not only from an analysis perspective, but let's say with learning about different types of indicators and how you use them. And that is what we're going to look at in the next prompt, which is my trading mentor prompt, but for indicators. So all we're going to do is ask it the same thing. Act as my trading mentor. I want to learn about, for example, the stochastic RSI. But if there's a specific indicator you want to learn about, then simply just change that word in the script. Then explain to me how the indicator actually operates, what is the most suitable time frame to use it on, and what are the different ways that I can implement this indicator into my trading strategy. Let's get into the prompt outcome. So the stochastic RSI is a second order oscillator. It takes the RSI itself and applies the stochastic formula. So the stochastic is actually a formula. It also shows me right here the formula that it uses to get the stochastic RSI, as well as breaking down the two lines, which is the K and D line, where you have one faster line crossing over a slower or vice versa. It also breaks down the zones on the stochastic. So anything above 80 is considered overbought, and the same thing, anything below 20 is considered oversold. So very similar to the RSI itself, and in the middle, it is simply neutral. Now, when it comes to the optimal time frame to use it on, I found that in my higher time frame system, when trading range extreme setups, the daily time frame is the most optimal. Then if I'm trading mean reversions, I found that using the 12-hour and 4-hour is better suited because the daily will take more time to reset. And what the AI is actually telling me is something pretty similar. So, okay, on the 5 to 15 minute, you could use it for scalping, but it's very noisy and the whipsaw risk is high. For day trading, the 15 minute to 1 hour is a good balance and more or less reliable. But for swing trading, the 4-hour and daily is the sweet spot. It took me years to figure out which was the most optimal time frame for it, but by simply asking the AI to tell me, it actually gives me the result that took me years to achieve. And then it finally gives me the 3 ways that I can use it. Number 1 is for mean reversions, which is one of the ways that I use it, and it's more reliable in ranges, which is again exactly what I've sort of been explaining with my own logic. Then you can use it for momentum and also the divergences. And for divergences, it actually says it is the strongest signal. And honestly, in my own system, I've never really looked that deep into trading divergences with a stochastic. But maybe this is something that I'll actually look into in my spare time. So now that we've had TradingView's AI mark out the key levels on the chart, we had it explain why there were key levels. And lastly, we had it explain to us how we can use different indicators in our system. All of the prompts that I have gone over in this video will be available for free in the description below. And make sure to like and subscribe if you're enjoying the video so far. Now let's get into our final prompt, which is the trade setup prompt. Now, using the existing levels marked out on the chart and the bias that you have defined during your analysis, provide me the highest conviction trade setup that you can find. The minimum risk reward for the trade should be 2. Draw the long and short box tool to clearly mark out the trade entry, stop loss, and target. I also want you to explain to me the reason why you chose each of these points, levels, entry, stop, target, all of them. So let's see what kind of setup it actually is able to cook up. And here is our actual trade setup. Now, one of the things to mention is I have seen a lot of problems with having the AI pull up the P&L tool, which is just like this. And the thing that I've noticed is the P&L tool will be incorrect, especially with the stop loss placement. And then sometimes it might just find the error, but not be able to fix it. So it just won't showcase the actual P&L tool. But what it does successfully show is, where your stop loss would be, where the entry for the trade would be, and the same for the take profit. So just by our analysis, we can see that price is contained within the 4-hour resistance and 4-hour support. So at the moment, we are in the middle of those support levels. Now, I have a very clear rule, which is I do not diddle in the middle. So if we're in the middle of a range, I am not interested in trading. I'm waiting for price to trade the extremes, which is what the setup it's provided us is actually telling us. It wants us to wait for price to trade into the 4-hour resistance and the daily swing high. The type of setup would be, for me, a range extreme trade, which is one of my higher probability setups. It's asking me to place my stop loss above the actual daily swing high, which is the right way to do it. So you're not just wanting to place your stop right above the high, but you actually want to provide a buffer so that if price does go and target that daily high liquidity, you won't be stopped out and you will still be in your trade. And in terms of the profit targets, this is telling you to target the 4-hour support, which is in fact the mid-range of your daily swing high and daily swing low, which is exactly how I would play it myself. And this is pretty much one of the setups that I'm actually waiting to trade personally. So it's really interesting to see how the own logic that took me years to kind of develop has been accurately portrayed by TradingView's AI across identifying levels to trade, behind the logic of how to use specific indicators, and explaining how to identify these different market regimes, whether you're trending or ranging. And I've just been honestly very surprised to see how it's able to hold its weight compared to other LLMs when talking specifically from a trading perspective. Now let's get into some of the honorable mentions. So now that we know where we want to enter, where our key levels are, what I can do now is simply ask TradingView's AI to set alerts at each of those key levels. That way I don't have to spend the time doing it manually myself. And just like that, the alerts have been set. Now what you'll notice is you can't actually see them on the chart itself, but if you want to make any changes to them, you simply head over on the right to the alert section, you click on it, and you can see that we have all of our alerts set. We have the 4-hour resistance, 4-hour support, daily swing high, and daily swing low. So it's actually marking out which specific alert it is from. Some other honorable mentions are from the prompt templates. Now you can have it do a watch list scan, a whole overview of the market, as well as, for example, a earnings review or even a portfolio check. But one of the most hidden features is actually being able to connect TradingView's AI to Telegram, so that my alerts that I've set, I could actually get them sent to me on my phone through Telegram. And I could also build custom reports that get sent out to me daily or weekly in regards to any market that I like. And in order to do that, all you have to do is head over to the settings. Then you will see under integrations, I click on Telegram and connect. It will then give you this code that you want to copy into the TV Remix bot on Telegram. So you simply type in that bot in the search, you click on it, you start a new chat. So I've actually had an existing chat, but I disconnected my Telegram so I could do the step together. I'm simply gonna paste in the Claude with /start, and now it is linked. I can have it pull up my alerts, and there we have it. It's also told me that none of them have fired yet, and that do you want me to monitor them so I can analyze in chat when they trigger? I can also ask it to give me a report when price has traded into those alerts as sort of an extra confluence of analysis. And just like that, I'll be able to get my own custom report when price trades into my alerts. And for some reason, if you want to disconnect your Telegram from the TradingView bot, simply paste in this URL and it will bring you to your account sections on the TradingView Remix AI. And I simply click on link. As always, every prompt that I've covered will be available for free in the description below. If you found value from the video, then don't forget to like and subscribe to show your support, and I'll catch you all in the next one.